also alleges. Next, we will demonstrate how the modern proponents of the Jesus myth theory and sources behind Zeitgeist and Acharya S.'s work are typically advocates of Freemasonry, Theosophy, and the New Age, which are all very similar belief systems whose goal, like that of the Zeitgeist movement, is the elimination of Christianity and a utopian society, or paradise, as presented in the Zeitgeist Addendum film. In one of her online articles entitled The Gospel According to Acharya S., she states, "Perhaps the devil brings peace, and not a sword, to humanity. Considering how many people have been killed in the name of God and not the devil, maybe the world is worshiping the wrong entity." She also writes, "The devil is divine." Also cited in Zeitgeist are Godfrey Higgins, Albert Churchwood, cited 6 times, and Manly P. Hall, cited 5 times, which were all members of the Freemasons' secret society. Manly P. Hall, a 33rd degree Mason, wrote on page 48 of his book, Lost Keys of Freemasonry, "When a Mason learns that the key is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, the seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands." Lucifer is a name frequently given to Satan in Christian belief. The usage as reference to a fallen angel stems from a particular passage in the Bible, Isaiah chapter 14, that speaks of someone who is given the name of day star or morning star as fallen from heaven. In Latin, the word Lucifer is the name for the morning star, the planet Venus in its dawn appearance. Though it seems Acharya S. ignorantly and lightly poses the hypothetical of worshipping the devil, and the devil bringing peace to humanity, her sources, such as Manly P. Hall, H. P. Blavatsky, and Albert Pike, are much more bold in their allegiance to the devil, Satan, or Lucifer. They not only believed in the devil, but committed their work to the fallen angel, Satan, and his lies. Another Freemason quoted frequently by Acharya S. in the Christ Conspiracy is Albert Pike, who is considered one of the best interpreters of all Masonic ritual. He held the highest office in Scottish Rite Masonry and rewrote all Scottish Rite rituals, which are practiced today. Pike is best known for his work Morals and Dogma, which is found in the bibliography of Acharya's book. He said, "The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, the God of the Christians, and his priests calumniate him? Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately Adonai is also God. The true and pure philosophic religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of gods, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil." Besides Acharya S., who quotes Gerald Massey in her work, Massey is the main source for Zeitgeist, being 30 times in the film. Though Acharya S. relies upon Massey's work to support much of her ideas and conclusions, Massey was not a trained Egyptologist, and his work was never recognized in the field of Egyptology. His ideas, like Acharya's, are fringe theories that lack critical support. Gerald Massey is known for his works such as The Historical and Mythical Christ. He was also a practicing Druid and a Theosophist who wrote for the Theosophical magazine entitled Lucifer, published by H. P. Blavatsky. H. P. Blavatsky, another source cited by Zeitgeist and Acharya S., was an occultist and mystic. She is the author of The Secret Doctrine and the founder of the Theosophical Society, a blend of Eastern religion, occult speculation, and Gnostic interpretation of Christianity. In the words of J. H. Russell, part of its teachings are, "All life is being fundamentally one with the life of the Supreme Existence." The Pasadena, California office of the Theosophy Society explains, "A primary idea is the essential oneness of all beings. Life is everywhere throughout the cosmos because all originates from the same unknowable divine source." These ideas are repeated in the Zeitgeist movement.
The Zeitgeist movement, in fact, is the activist arm of the Venus Project.
The solution to the faltering global economy offered by Zeitgeist Addendum is the Venus Project. Venus, also known as the morning star, is also synonymous with Lucifer. In The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky wrote, Lucifer is divine and terrestrial light, the Holy Ghost and Satan at one and the same time. She also wrote, "And now it stands proven that Satan, or the red fiery dragon, the lord of phosphorus, and Lucifer, or light bearer, is in us. It is our mind, our redeemer, our intelligent liberator and savior from pure animalism." Just as Zeitgeist and Acharya S. cite much of their material from H.P. Blavatsky, the Nazi movement was also founded on theosophy and Blavatsky's writing. Blavatsky's book, The Secret Doctrine, which is cited by Acharya S. in the film Zeitgeist, was known to be an inspiration to Adolf Hitler, specifically towards his ideas about superior and inferior races. In section 3 of Blavatsky's book, The Key of Theosophy, she wrote of the 3 objects of theosophy. 1. To form the nucleus of a universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, color, or creed. 2. To promote the study of Aryan and other scriptures of the world's religion and sciences. She also writes, "The Theosophical Society is not then a political organization? Certainly not. It is international in the highest sense in that its members comprise men and women of all races, creeds, and forms of thought, who work together for one object, the improvement of humanity, but as a society it takes absolutely no part in any national or party politics." Notice the similarity in the objects of the Zeitgeist movement, stated by Peter Joseph.
The Zeitgeist movement is not a political movement. It does not recognize divisionary notions such as nations, governments, races, religions, creeds, or class. Rather, we see the world as one organism, with the human species as a singular family. What the Venus Project represents and what the Zeitgeist movement hence condones could be summarized as the application of the scientific method for social concern.
Today, the modern New Age revival can be traced back to H.P. Blavatsky and the founding of the Theosophical Society. Blavatsky's prize pupil, Alice Bailey, developed Blavatsky's teachings into an organized system and coined the term New Age. Bailey taught that humanity must achieve enlightenment by realizing its divinity. Bailey's teachings are kept alive today by the Lucis Trust. The organization was originally called the Lucifer Publishing Company, according to a statement on their website, because Bailey considered Lucifer, the fallen angel, a positive principle, as did H.P. Blavatsky, whom they cite as a great teacher. Though Acharya S. is not a practicing theosophist, Freemason, or Druid like her sources, she does demonstrate loyalty to the New Age movement, which is no different. On page 416 of the Christ Conspiracy, she says, "Despite the vilification of the so-called New Age movement, the fact is that we are entering into a new age. The age referred to in the gospel tale is that of Pisces, and through contrivance and duplicity, coercion and slaughter, the fish god Jesus, the Piscean solar avatar, has indeed been with us. But now it is the close of the age, and his time is over. As Hancock says, we live today in the astrological no man's land at the end of the age of Pisces, on the threshold of the new age." The Zeitgeist movie opens with a quote from Jordan Maxwell's Inner World of the Occult.
The more you begin to investigate what we think we understand, where we came from, what we think we're doing, the more you begin to see we've been lied to.
Maxwell was also heavily influenced by H.P. Blavatsky and theosophy.
Helena Petrovna Blavatsky?
Right.
Yes, I have all of her works. I think her best work was Isis Unveiled, Part 2, which is theology.
Right. Science.
And that was an exceptional work. I think that Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the Russian mystic, was a very wise and perceptive lady. Manly Palmer Hall, one of my very good friends. Manly Palmer Hall, one of my very good friends.
This main authority behind Zeitgeist and proponent of the New Age, Jordan Maxwell, believes he was put here by aliens to start his own religion. He is also one of Acharya's sources for the Christ Conspiracy.
2 white glowing objects came in very slow. They were not flying as such. They appeared to be just electronically or magnetically floating. And as they floated overhead, 5 more came in behind them. And at that point, I totally went ballistic. I decided to rent a convertible and drive back up to Area 51 by myself, and no one knew this, and go back out to where we had this experience by myself, which I did. About a month later, now we're at the beginning of summer, I get a phone call from Paul, my publisher, who lives in Escondido, right down by San Diego. And he's telling me about this young lady who was a past life regressionist. And he said, "You got to go see this girl, she's sensational." And she says, "Well," and I'm just telling you what she said. She said, "They are Pleiadians, and they have brought you here to do something. And you are ultimately going to be a emissary," was the word, an emissary for them. They're going to channel through you. They're going to use you, and they will speak through you.
In the end, the most relevant change must occur first inside of you. The real revolution is the revolution of consciousness, and each one of us first needs to eliminate the divisionary, materialistic noise we have been conditioned to think is true, while discovering, amplifying, and aligning with the signal coming from our true empirical oneness. It is up to you.
That depends on you and not somebody else. You yourself are the teacher and the pupil, you are the master, you are the guru, you are the leader. You are everything.
Freemasonry, Theosophy, the New Age, and Zeitgeist movements all represent a relentless quest towards self-deification and the integration of all knowledge and spirituality in order to create a utopian society where all is one and one is all. The Bible is also in a head-on collision with this movement because, in contrast, it teaches that all is not one, all is not God, and human beings are not God. The Zeitgeist movement and Venus Project Utopia theoretically eliminates this problem of sin and human depravity, saying, essentially, that sin, evil, and crime is not caused by free will of individuals, but is a product of society, circumstantial experiences, and money.
There is no such thing as a criminal. As repeatedly expressed, the monetary system generates corruption by its very construct. As far as society today, the most fundamental condition for offensive behavior is derived from the monetary system.
In contrast, the Bible teaches that humanity's crises stem from the evil and sin of humankind. The Zeitgeist movement blames money for offensive behavior, whereas the Bible teaches the love of money is the root of all evil, bringing the cause of sin back to the individual's free will and choice. The doctrines of these movements forever removes any possible fellowship with Christians. The only obvious solution to this problem is the eradication of Christianity, as Acharya S. reveals on page 416 of her book, quoting Zeitgeist source Edward Carpenter. As for Christianity's role in this new age, Carpenter states, Christianity, therefore, as I say, must either now come frankly forward and, acknowledging its parentage from the great order of the past, seek to rehabilitate that and carry mankind one step forward in the path of evolution, or else it must perish. There is no alternative. The Apostle Paul cites the resurrection of Jesus from the dead and its subsequent effect upon all mankind as the proof that God exists, that Jesus is His Son, and that the redemption of all those who obey God and His Word is assured by His personal triumph over the grave. Obviously, the Zeitgeist movement will label the resurrection another myth, as they do with Jesus' historical existence.
A cardinal doctrine of the Christian faith is the death and resurrection of Christ. This notion is so important that the Bible itself states, "And if Christ be not risen, then is our preaching vain, and your faith is also vain."
It is easy to take the previous verse from Paul's letter to the Corinthians out of context when it is not quoted in its entirety. Paul was making a point in rebuking those who said there was no resurrection, even though Jesus was resurrected. Paul said, "But now is Christ risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept."
Yet it is very difficult to take this account literally, For not only is there no primary source denoting this supernatural event in secular history, awareness of the enormous number of pre-Christian saviors who also died and were resurrected immediately puts the story in mythological territory by association.
Also claiming that there is no primary source denoting this supernatural event in secular history is inaccurate. Unlike Zeitgeist claims about the Jesus myth, the New Testament uses primary sources. The writers of the New Testament wrote as eyewitnesses from first-hand information. In addition to the non-biblical sources, the four Gospels are primary and authentic sources for the life of Jesus. Richard Bauckham, professor of the New Testament at University of St. Andrews, Scotland, wrote in his book Jesus and the Eyewitnesses, "The Gospels were written within living memory of the events they recount. Mark's Gospel was written well within the lifetime of many witnesses, while the other three canonical Gospels were written in the period when the living eyewitnesses were becoming scarce, exactly at the point in time when their testimony would perish with them were it not put in writing. This is a highly significant fact, entailed not by unusually early datings of the Gospels, but by the generally accepted ones. We imagine the traditions passing through many minds and mouths before they reach the writers of the Gospels, but the period in question is actually that of a relatively, for the period, long lifetime."
Religious belief has caused more fragmentation and conflict than any other ideology. Christianity alone has 34,000 different subgroups.
The Bible teaches Christians to be unified in love, regardless of how many professing Christians today behave contrary. Concerning church subgroups, the Apostle Paul spoke against the Corinthian church creating divisions and strife, saying it was carnal to do such in 1 Corinthians 3:3-11.
Christianity, along with all other theistic belief systems, is the fraud of the age.
On the contrary, part 1 of the movie Zeitgeist is in every respect a fraud. This film professes to present the authoritative truth on what Christianity and pagan religions teach, yet genuine academic research and scholarship blatantly refutes the vast majority of these claims and strongly supports historic Christianity. In terms of Peter Joseph's ludicrous astrological and historical assertions, there is truly nothing new under the sun.
The point raised by Zeitgeist about the book of Revelation and the end times is important for the reason that this constant talk by Christian evangelicals may actually bring about Armageddon by setting up Christians to do battle. And I firmly believe we must not let that happen.
Anybody who professes to be a Christian and does battle, as Acharya put it, is a wolf in sheep's clothing, a false prophet which is known by their fruits, according to Jesus and the Bible. Jesus disarmed every Christian by his words to Peter when he said, "Put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword." Though many wars have been fought in the name of Christianity, these wars were in direct disobedience to Jesus' commandments. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." Jesus taught to bless them that persecute and curse you and love your enemies. The Bible says that God hates people who love violence in Psalm 11:5. John the Baptist said to do violence to no man in Luke chapter 3 verse 14. Thus the Bible leaves no exceptions for a Christian to do battle if they are to obey its teachings. Commonly, people misunderstand the difference between the Old Covenant and New Covenant. The New Covenant is God's revelation to all mankind through Jesus Christ, his Son. The Old Covenant had symbols and shadows for the Jewish people of the New Covenant. Circumcision was a symbol of spiritual circumcision of the heart. Solomon's temple was a symbol of the spiritual temple of the church. The Old Covenant had its laws written upon tablets of stone, while the New has Jesus' commandments written upon his people's hearts. And the physical battles in the Old Testament were a symbol of the spiritual warfare against sinful flesh, which does not involve physical weapons of warfare. Contrary to Acharya's interpretation, the book of Revelation is clear in that the beast or evil world empire is given power over all nations to make war with Christians and overcome them. Jesus authoritatively told Pilate, "If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight," implying that his kingdom is not of this world, and this is why the true servants of Jesus do not fight. Jesus also said, "From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force." The only way to recognize a true Christian, according to the Bible, is by their love, because God is love. Regardless of whether or not somebody calls themselves a Christian, Jesus said, "The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day."